Good morning and welcome back to the McMichael Weather Briefing presented by SeaTactics Chelsea Freas. Today is Risk Strategies Race Day. Risk Strategies helps keep your boat and equipment insured and safe. Thanks again, McMichael Yacht Yards Brokers, for sponsoring these weather briefings. For over 40 years, McMichael has been one of the country's leading J-boat dealers. There were over 85 J-boats racing at Block this week, and that's half the entire fleet. And this is the first race week for the new J40. This afternoon, as you sip a mud slide at the end of Champlin's, walk to the right and take a look at the new J40 Racer Cruiser. Contact McMichael if you have any questions on the new J40 or any J-boat. Now here's Chelsea's briefing.
Good morning and welcome to day 3, Block Island Race Week. Before we jump into today's weather, I just want to briefly mention about yesterday because it looks like the winds did come up a little higher than we originally anticipated. So at least if it went one way, it went a little bit breezier so you guys could race. But it looks like the heat inversion that we talked about yesterday probably ended up breaking, which allowed for more gradient wind to fill in from the west. So what we see is that around 1 o'clock, the breeze goes a little bit more westerly, and it came up to about 15 or 16 knots, at least at the jetty. So it looks like it turned out hopefully to be a great day of racing, but I think that's what happened with yesterday. So just taking a look at today, we've got sunny skies right now. There is a stalled front, which I'll talk to you about in a second, that's going to be kind of just hanging out north of us, maybe sinking a little bit southward. So that's why there's a little clouds to the north, but otherwise it's going to be sunny. It is going to be pretty hot today, and with that stalled front sitting close to the coast, we do have a slight chance for pop-up thunderstorms this afternoon. Probably not until around 4 p.m. or later. It's generally looking like a later day phenomenon, so I didn't heavily focus on it during the race time, but there is just a slight chance for pop-up showers or a thunderstorm along the south coast, more towards the Rhode Island coast this afternoon. So we just want to kind of keep an eye on that. Otherwise, this is that stalled front I was talking about. It's a very weak cold front that's going to be sitting close to the coast, but we have east-northeast kind of sea breezy winds north of it that's going to be developing on the Mass north coast, and then we've got southwest sea breeze on the south coast, and so that southwest sea breeze is going to help pin the front in place and keep it from sinking too much further south, at least for today. This evening, once the sea breeze starts to wane and die out, we may see that front come through and we may get a shift into east-northeast winds. When we look at the models, you'll see there's a little bit of discrepancy on when that shift happens. But just taking a look at current observations, we've got kind of westerly, west-northwest winds early this morning. And then at Block, it's light from the west. If we take a look at Buzzards Bay Tower, which is kind of a good indication of what the gradient is doing on a bigger picture, it's about 13 knots early this morning. So if we see that stick around, that's good news. It basically means that there's good there are good parameters in place for a backing sea breeze today from the southwest. So I think we will see pretty decent wind speeds. We're going to look at 2 different models and show you differences between the two. Yesterday, there was a model, the SailFlow 2-kilometer model, and it kind of hit the nail on the head with the wind speeds yesterday. So today we're looking a little bit closer at that model, as well as the HRR, which also is a very good one because it updates pretty much every hour. So if you look at the red line, this is the slightly lower wind speeds from the HRR, and then the blue line that kind of ticks up here around 2 or 3 is that 2-kilometer model, which is bringing a little stronger wind speeds into the forecast for today. So just so you know, my forecast has kind of gone right between the two, and I'll show you sort of why I think the wind's going to be in the middle of the two. So this is the 2-kilometer model, and it brings wind speeds, like I said, up pretty high, about 15, 16 knots here, 2-3 p.m. But it also has that shift into an east wind happening pretty early, around like 4 o'clock, which I think is probably too early. Like I said, I think the sea breeze is going to pin that front up against the coast, and I don't think we're going to see any shift into northeast or an east until later in the day. So for that reason, I kind of followed more of the HRR forecast, which doesn't show the easterly until closer to 7 or 8 at night, which I think is more likely. But it's probably a little too low on the wind speeds during the day. It only has about 7 or 8 knots. So I brought the wind speeds up closer to 14, 15 from the southwest for the afternoon, and I think that's a little bit more likely. But just so you know, kind of the uncertainties and the split between the two models there. So like I said, my forecast is for single digits, getting up pretty quickly, a nice modest build between 11 and 12. We should be building up to teens, low teens, mid-teens, up through the late part of the afternoon. And the breeze is going to be backing, right? So we're in a west or a west-southwest for the first few hours, gradually backing through about 2 p.m., which is when we reach our max left and our max breeze as well. And then once we hit that 200, 210, 220 range, we're probably more oscillating back and forth for the rest of the afternoon instead of that gradual backing that we had in the morning. So this is just to give you a little idea of how it looks across the different courses. This is the 2-kilometer model. We kind of went through this, so I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, but here's 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. We see the breeze increasing up to about 13, 14. 2 o'clock. I think this shows gusts a little bit too high over Block Island. It's picking up on probably some instability and mixing going on there. So we won't see that. But like I said, we're probably more in the 12 to 14 range across our courses. It thinks it's a little stronger to the north and a little lighter to the south, which is likely when we have a sea breeze that's initially first developing. But once it fills in, I think it's going to fill in pretty well across the courses. So again, we're kind of hanging in the 12 to 14 range through about 3 o'clock. And this is the higher wind speed model. So I think we're kind of in that range for today. And then taking a look at currents, again, this is from Current Lab. This is from 11 a.m. We've got generally slack here between 11 and 12, maybe just the end of the flood there happening around 11. And we're going to start ebbing in the afternoon, but really light across the middle of block, probably only some current here on the south. And we're going to see it starting to flood then around 1, a little bit stronger here to the north. And then 2 p.m., we see it increasing. Again, this is probably mostly for the blue course, but there is a split in the flow going north of block and south of block with stronger. The further south you get, the stronger further east you get towards block, it looks stronger. So that takes us through 3. And then 4 o'clock, we see kind of the strongest current there towards the end of the day. So I hope you guys have some great racing today, and good luck. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
Thanks, Chelsea. Now here's another Race Week fun fact. In Block Island Race Week lingo, there's only 1 year between regattas. So if someone refers to the last Block Island Race Week as last year, you'll know they have a few race weeks under their belts. Well, we'll be back tomorrow at about the same time for another McMichael weather briefing. And remember to listen at 0900 for today's race committee announcements. For the Storm Trysail Club, this is Buttons Padine saying I'll see you on the water.